welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Ali.
And I'm Sarah.
And it's international break, and we have got so much to talk about. Obviously England, obviously the US women's national team, but there's so much news that's happened.
So much.
In like the last 5 days. So we've got a lot to like catch people up on what's going on with that. All for the prep for the big European tournament that is happening in the summer. We are not that far out, people, to the first games.
In the summer, it is summer. This was the last international break before Euros. We're there. We've arrived. Let's go.
Let's go.
July 2nd, everybody. Wednesday, July 2nd is when the Euros kick off. That is literally less than a month away when you are listening to this. Circle it on your calendars. It's happening. I can't believe it's here, honestly. All right, before we get into news, I guess speaking of, we will have Euros coverage news for you in the beginning of next week's episode. So we will tell you our entire Euros coverage, calendar, schedule, everything you're getting in next week's episode. We always plan and scheme for tournament coverage, Ali. And, I think this one's going to be just as good as all the rest.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just more bang for your buck.
That's right. What buck? It's free. This is a free podcast. Unless you want to subscribe to our Patreon, which we would deeply appreciate.
There you go. But we got to talk some news. The big news that's coming out at the moment is the Matildas have a new manager.
Yeah, I feel like we've been waiting for this for a while.
It's been a long old time because obviously they've had interim managers. Their old manager left what feels like a year ago. And it feels like they've been waiting for this particular person. And his contract is up. And so drum roll, Sarah, who is the new Matildas manager?
Joe Montemuro will be the successor to Tony Gustafsson. Wow. It's been, you said a lot of time. I think it's been 10 months of just kind of like a long in between. But it is Joe Montemuro. If you know his name, you know it for a reason. He's born in Melbourne, so it's kind of like a really lovely homecoming for him. But he has been the coach at Lyon Women for the past year. And before that, he was at Juventus Women. Before that, Arsenal Women. He spent some time coaching Melbourne City Women, Melbourne Victory Women. One of the more decorated coaches that's in the game right now, honestly, Ali.
Yeah, absolutely. He's taken Lyon into multiple titles. He was the architect behind Arsenal's last league title. So, yeah, he's got a big pedigree. I think it's a great shout for the Matildas. They are going through a massive transition, as we've said. They've got older players on the way out, younger players that need bedding in before that happens. And he's a great coach for that. So it's a bright start for the Matildas, I think.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think I can't think of anybody that I would maybe be even more excited for the Matildas for. This is fantastic. It's an Aussie. He has such a pedigree, and I think they are in a precarious position in terms of where they are just with turnover, new coming in, old going out, and I think he's a perfect person for it. He's almost like their Emma Hayes right now, to be honest.
Oh, that is some very high praise indeed.
Indeed. But with him leaving Lyon, Ali, it certainly opens up room for somebody else to come in. We weren't going to talk about this in the main, but we're not going to talk about it here, but we have to say it, right? Jonathan Heraldez is moving from the Washington Spirit to Lyon. And that has been some huge news that Ali and I are going to dig into on our weekly Patreon show, News and 10. So if you want to hear us talk about that, head on over there. All right, before we move on, Ali, one more piece of news we needed to discuss in terms of international football.
Yes, so talking about outs, this is shocking, really, is Wendy Renard is no longer the captain of France leading up to this European tournament. And I don't even mean that she's been stripped of the captaincy. I mean, she's not being selected. It's her, Kenza Dali, and Lise Sommer have all been scrapped from the French roster for these last international breaks before the Euros. And it's looking like that's going to stay. Which I think, okay, Dali, I can take or leave. But Renard, she is their figurehead, both literally and figuratively.
I'm going to butcher the name of the French coach. Laurent Bonnaday. So sorry. She's spoken about this. I'm just going to read a couple quotes here. She said, quote, "These are tough choices. They're difficult to make and difficult to announce to all the players. It's a decision that's hard to hear, hard to understand, and almost impossible for them to accept because they're legendary players for the French team. I didn't make this decision on the spur of the moment. You'd think, given the timing, that this is crazy, but it's not. As Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I want different results for this team, so I've gone with a different selection."
Again, some of the players I understand, but not Renat. Like, how many times
I get it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie. I get it. I really do. I get it.
No.
You say consistently that call-ups should be based on recent performances.
She's just won the French league.
But she has not been playing well. She has not been playing well in the French league. In my opinion, listen, in terms of Wendy Renard's standards, she's not the Wendy Renard of old. She has not been playing the same. And I kind of get it. Like when she says insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, I don't expect a different result from France if they take basically the same team we expect into this Euros right now. I don't think they're going to win it. I don't expect them to. But if you change it up, maybe. If you feel like you're not going to win doing the same thing, then what choice do you really have but to mix it up? It is really wild because these are huge names and huge players with a lot of experience, right? Renard, Le Sommer was their vice captain. And then obviously Kenza Dali is a star and has been huge for this team. It's wild, but I don't know. We're talking about teams aging out, and obviously they're not old. I mean, I think Wendy Renard is 34. Le Sommer is 36. Kenza Dali's 33. They are the veterans of the squad, and maybe this is the moment for France to start to turn the new leaf. We're going to kick it off by talking England, the Lionesses, because we've got a major tournament coming up, the Euros in Switzerland. And we said this is the last international break before the Euros happen. This is the last time for England to really get their feet underneath them. And before we even get into the games, because in this international break, England faced Portugal and Spain. We are recording this before we know before we really know what's happening in the England-Spain game. So when we talk games, we're going to talk England-Portugal. But maybe we won't even get into the specifics because I think the biggest thing we need to talk about is the huge bomb that got dropped on everybody right before this international break, which is the former England number one, Mary Earps, seemingly very abruptly announced she was retiring from international football. And I swear to God, Allie, when you said that, I read that and I was like, I read your text and I almost didn't Google it because I assumed it was, oh, she's going to retire after the Euros. But no, she is retiring point blank right now. It's done. She's done. She released her statements and she is done with her international career.
Yeah, it was an absolute shock. Like I was sat in work and we had the sports news going and it came up and I was like, she's saying after the Euros. Like, I get it. Like Daly did that, like I get it. But no. It's a hard one. It really is because I don't believe anything that's coming out at all.
What do you mean? Like what's coming out?
Well, because initially, and there's been some nasty press, I will say, and I'm not giving credence to the nasty press.
There was a lot of really dirty press around this in England, which I want to talk about too.
Yeah, which I'm not backing. But initially, stories came out that it was initially broke that she wasn't happy that she was no longer England number one and that she'd had a conversation with Serena and that it was more likely she was going to be a veteran presence in helping Hannah Hampton. And she didn't like it.
Fake news.
But then it seemed like her camp literally came out with this cover story of being like, no, Mary's been thinking about this for 12 months, 18 months, and is only now like officially putting her stamp down to say that she's done. And I'm like, that doesn't ring true either.
Why doesn't that ring true?
Because you look where she was 12, 18 months ago, she was starting to fall behind Hampton. So it feels like it's for the same reason. It feels like she's giving up because she's not going to get England number one. Because if you look at 12 months ago, she had a bad season at Man United because she was pushing for a PSG move. And you saw that. You cannot argue that. You saw in the way she was playing, especially the first half of the season, because she thought she was going to go the beginning transfer. She had a bad year at Man United, got an FA Cup final win, fantastic, but then pushed over for a PSG move. And you started to see it then, that she wasn't the favourite anymore.
Yeah, but I think to like then just assume that of a player, I hate it. I think it's terrible. It's a massive assumption to make. In my opinion,
but the timing makes it seem like that, though.
It really doesn't to me.
Really
I don't know.
does.
Like, I am just of the mind where, like, I'm not going to read into any assumptions. She clearly, in her statement, didn't really want to give a reasoning. She just kind of said, "It is time. This was a difficult decision, and like, I'm proud I've left the game better than how I found it." And that was the gist of what she said. She didn't provide a reason, and so I'm not here to assume any of it. I have no idea what's going on in her life. Her mental health could be severely struggling. Like, I don't know, so I'm not here to assume. And I really did hate, there was really, really, really nasty media around this announcement from Mary Earps. Like, the Telegraph Women's Sport, I'm going to call him out, Luke Edwards. Shame on you for this headline. Quote, "It is hard to think of a more short-sighted and selfish decision on the eve of a major international tournament from an England player."
And that was a rewrite. Because he then initially said this is an ego-led.
Yes, he used the word petulant, which I can't stand when people use describing women because it feels really misogynistic and demeaning. And I just... It's disgusting. Mary Earps made the decision that was best for her. And the last time I checked, really nobody still knows why she made that decision. It's her career. She doesn't owe anybody anything. She doesn't owe anybody playing in the Euros. And I know that's hard for a lot of, England fans to hear, but that's the truth. She does not owe you to play in this tournament. She doesn't owe you an explanation. She doesn't owe you anything. And if she's retiring, so be it.
She doesn't. She 100% doesn't owe us anything or anything like that. But it just felt like there was a lot of backpedaling. Because the initial article wasn't evil, it wasn't nasty, it was just, she's retiring. Many feel it's possible the Hannah Hampton situation.
But even if it was, like, so be it, right? So be it.
Yeah, I'm not like angry at, like, there's a lot of England fans that are angry at her for leaving.
Yeah, I feel like that's such an English football thing where, like, there's an entitlement there to a player that should not exist. You know what I mean?
Because I'm not. But the only thing I will get is because everybody's now, because it seems in England, you're in two camps. You're either Team Serena or Team Merps. And like, I saw someone goes, "This is the fourth player that Serena has drove to retirement." And I was like, they were like Steph Houghton. I was like, was never in the England squad under.
Was never going to play. Yeah.
That was, and it was like Rachel Daly. I was like, okay, I can go and give you that because she was in like the wrong position, but it
was beyond Serena though.
But it was beyond Serena. And then there was another one, I can't remember who else they said, that again, it was like, this is the thing. And now Mary. And I'm like, again, I'm like,
no, it's not. Yeah, I mean, nobody's giving, Millie Bright also came out before England camp and said, I'm not going to play. And she took herself basically off of the roster and said she wasn't going to play because of mental health. But because she said it was mental health, nobody's giving her a hard time for it. No, in my opinion, there's a good chance she wouldn't have been the center back.
No, it's not that. It genuinely, I think, because Millie hasn't taken herself out of contention for Euros. That's where the grace is.
Euros,
that's where the grace is. Because if Mary had said, "I'm not going into this camp for or for whatever reason, I'm not doing it," people would be, I feel, not that she needs their forgiveness, but I think the vitriol would have been less. Even if she then retired before the Euros, but if she just said, "I'm taking myself out of this camp," like Millie has. Millie's been very open about saying, "I'm stressed. I've played every minute of every Chelsea game, every England game. I'm tired." People have gone, "You're right. Yeah." Because she's not taken herself out of contention. I think the fact that Mary's gone, "No, the end, done," is what's caused a lot of, because it's Hannah Hampton and two uncapped goalkeepers.
Hannah Hampton's going to be just fine.
Yeah, but what if she plays Spain on Tuesday, like, touch wood, and like Pateas takes her out and breaks her leg? Like that's the problem. That's what people are saying. It's like, if Hampton's fit, she will play every single minute and that will be fine. But you look at the 2019 World Cup, Karen Bardsley broke her leg and Telford had to
I still
come in.
stand by this idea that, like, that's not Mary Earps's duty, or she doesn't owe anybody to sit there and be the backup in case Hannah Hampton's leg gets hurt. She doesn't owe anybody to be the number one. She doesn't owe anybody anything. And if she's done, she's done. Like, it doesn't bother me like it bothers other people. I feel like, but
would you have been the same if, say, Neha had gone right before the Olympics? I'm done. I'm tired. Or not even give you a reason, just when I'm out of international football before the Olympics.
I feel like I would have been upset at the timing, but I wouldn't have been like, this is an ego trip. She owes us to play in this. It would have been like, well, that's a bummer. I feel like that could have happened a while ago.
So a lot of England fans are upset about the timing.
Right. But there's a difference between being upset at the timing and feeling like, because of that, she owes you to play in this Euros and then retire. There's a difference between those two.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can be bummed, but you have to understand that.
Because I'm upset at the timing.
Yeah, and you can be upset all you want, and I totally understand that. But I think then there's a difference to make the jump and say, but she owes us this. Like, you can be bummed and be like, but you know what? She doesn't owe us to play that in this tournament. I'm super bummed about it. She kind of screwed us over by it, but like, to each their own, and she doesn't owe us anything, because she doesn't. And I feel like there's that ownership specifically over female soccer players where people feel like they're owed stuff from these people. You're not owed a jersey sign. You're not owed a conversation. You're not owed a photograph. You're not owed their cleat after a game. And you certainly are not owed them playing in a major tournament for you when they are not mentally up for it. Period. The end. Okay, really quickly, because we spoke on Millie Bright and how she didn't take herself out of the Euros, but perhaps by not being in this camp, has she? Stellar performance from England, I have to say, against Portugal, because that's the one that we'll briefly touch on. But I don't know. I'm looking across the board, and you've got Leah Williamson back in Leah Williamson form. I don't know what she drank before that Champions League final game, but it clicked her into whatever the next gear was that she hadn't found since she tore her ACL. And let me tell you, she has certainly refound it, and she's found her fire. I love whatever went down where she got so pissed and Alex Greenwood had to pull her back.
It's because a Portugal player accidentally stood on her knee that she'd done her ACL in.
Yeah.
And like Alex Greenwood was like literally had her by the throat, being like, back away.
Yeah. Literally, credit to Alex Greenwood, really unsung hero and leader of this team as well. Like, but you could put Alex Greenwood at center back next to Leah Williamson. You could put her at left back. I'd love her at center back next to Leah. I thought Esme Morgan played pretty well there. You've got the one and only Georgia Stanway returning to the squad. Like, you know what? For the ups and downs since the last Euros, since the second place in the World Cup, things suddenly are like coming together in a very quick way, it seems, for the Lionesses right before the Euros.
Yeah, I do think it's one of those ones that I thought it was a fantastic performance. 5 goals before halftime. That was phenomenal. Aggie Beaver-Jones getting a hat trick within 20 minutes. Phenomenal. Only the second England woman to do that at Wembley since Beth Mead. Like, that's huge. Absolutely. It's such a positive thing. Negative. The only thing I will say is I think the bigger test was obviously going to be Spain, because I thought Portugal were poor. I thought England were great, but Portugal made England look better because they got carved up so easily.
Yeah.
Like,
poor is maybe a kind way to say it. They were abysmal. Abysmal.
They were absolutely abysmal. Like, the centre backs got carved up so easily. They gave away passes. Like, I think it was a fantastic performance from England, but I do think Portugal made us look better because they were so poor. And then the second half, they did sort of come into their own, and like they managed to limit it down to just 1 goal conceded and stuff like that. But I do think I'm happy to see players return. So I'm happy that Hempo came back. I'm so excited to see that Greenwood is back. I'm so excited to see players like that. They've been out. Like I said, Georgia Stanway is back. Jess Park was out for a bit. Jess Carter was out for a bit. So all these players, Fran Kirby got some minutes, Maya Letitia, who I think should be starting. I don't know what that girl needs to do to get her start, because she's in one of the tightest defences in our league. Like, Man United conceded some of the fewest goals until the very final end of their season. Surely you want that at your back.
I thought she played well as well. But I agree. And unfortunately, as we said, the Spain game is going on. We can't watch that and record this episode. So we're talking Portugal. But I mean, to put a button on it, Portugal is going to be in the Euros as well. And this was not a great test. Or this didn't look great for them, for a team that I think has certainly looked better. They have never been somebody that they're going to make it far, but they have been as good as a disruptor and somebody that potentially could beat any team on any given day. And this didn't seem like it. So not the greatest performance out there for Portugal in the lead up to the Euros. All right. Anything else for your Lionesses?
No, I'm just excited. I'm actually excited because it was obviously this time last year we were panicked because Greenwood was out. Stanway had done something. Hempo had done something. And we were like, well, that's us not getting out the group. I'm less feeling that now. I feel like we've got more of a hope and a chance, and especially with some of the other performances from the teams that are in our group of death. So,
well, we mentioned France, and who France may or may not probably won't have now on their squad. So a reminder to everybody, England is in the group of death, as Ali just said. England, France, Netherlands, and Wales is the group. But you can hear more about that when our Euros coverage starts very soon. And you can hear more about our Euros coverage on next week's episode. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world. Nations League edition.
Group 1, and it was a bad day all round for the home nations in this group. Northern Ireland conceded 4 against an informed Poland, whereas Scotland lost by a single goal against Austria. The big result, however, for this group was Germany beating the Netherlands 4-0, which bodes well for them in the upcoming Euros.
To Group 2, France beat Euros host Switzerland 4-0, which keeps France top of the table with 5 wins out of 5, whereas Iceland and Norway could only draw 1-1. The Republic of Ireland scored a late winner against Turkey.
Group 3, and Spain topped their group after the 5-1 win against Belgium. They take on England Tuesday the 3rd. The winner of this will win their group and not have to go through further qualification rounds.
And Group 4, Sweden could only manage a draw against Italy, and Wales lost to Denmark. It's looking like Wales will be relegated back to the B League.
Over to the US women's national team, and it was a big game for friendlies against China, and it was 3-0 USA. It seems like it was a good one. Emma Hayes had the best time. Like, she went to a WNBA game and got, caught a t-shirt in the stands because they love to throw things out at US game. They don't do that in England very rarely when they throw.
I love a t-shirt toss.
Yeah.
It was China and Minnesota for game number 1. USA's taking on Jamaica Tuesday night for game number 2. So that's happening. Well, what is Tuesday night for me? What is Wednesday morning for Allie? So obviously we're going to talk about the China game because at this point the Jamaica game has not happened while we're recording. But yeah, US, like you said, 1-3-0. I loved hearing Emma Hayes talk about going to a WNBA game. She was so cute, I have to say, talking about it. She was saying how that was her second WNBA game. She's absolutely loving it. She talked about how she never grew up with women's professional sports. So to get to experience it in that way, at the basketball game was so much fun. She said she fought other fans for the t-shirt toss. And she was like, I fought for that shirt that I got. And then they gave me a jersey, but I fought for that shirt. And I was like, good for you. Good for you. I loved to see that, though. She seems like she's really loving her life right now. But let's talk about the game, because as with England, I feel like there were, a few big talking points out of this USA return during this international break that I feel like we've all had circled. I mean, obviously, Naomi Girma came back. The goalkeeper situation is one that I think is interesting to everybody.
I was going to say, I know on our notes we're saying Naomi Girma first, but I want to talk about the goalkeeper situation first. Because
let's do it.
Because this one was really interesting because it's clear Emma Hayes hasn't found what she's looking for in a starting keeper. She hasn't found it. She's got a very specific idea of what she wants. And none of the keepers so far seem to have fit everything. So she's just trying lots of different things. This time round, it was Man United's Fallon Tullis-Joyce who got the start. I think she did a pretty decent job. But China weren't exactly the most testing of opponents. Is that fair to say?
Oh, 100%. So the 3 keepers called into camp were Fallon Tillis-Joyce, like you just said, Mandy McGlynn, who plays for Utah Royals, and then Claudia Dickey got her first ever call up to the U.S. Women's National Team. She's Seattle Reigns goalkeeper. I was happy to see her in the mix. Obviously, we don't know who's going to get the minutes against Jamaica, but Emma Hayes, when this roster was announced, did say on the press conference, point blank, Claudia Dickey has been statistically the best goalkeeper in the NWSL. She was like, we watch all the games, we look at the data. She has performed the best in the NWSL, period, the end. So that was interesting to hear Emma Hayes say, but I think you nailed it, Allie, when you said she has obviously not found what she is looking for in a goalkeeper, because she keeps pushing the timeline for, picking a number 1 back and back and back. And there was a point where she said it would be after April, I think in like the April camp. Obviously that won't happen. I think the important thing here to say is what she wants. The funny thing is, I think what she wants is like an Alyssa Nair type. What she wants is a shot stopper that is really good with their feet. She's really focused on this idea that the goalkeeper needs to be essentially the equivalent of like a 12th field player. She needs to feel confident with her feet. She needs to be able to, quote, slot into the number 3 role, as Emma Hayes said, which if the number 3 role is the center back role. So she wants the goalkeeper to feel comfortable slotting in and stepping up that high that she can essentially play a 3rd center back role with her feet. And that specifically, I think, is the piece she has been missing with all of these goalkeepers, who are all fantastic shot stoppers. None of them have been able to prove so far that they have been great with their feet, including, I think Fallon had some shaky moments at the beginning, or she had a shaky moment with her feet at the beginning of this game. She wasn't all that tested, but, as Emma Hayes spoke really highly of her, she said she's still learning at this level. She said she was rusty at the beginning, partly because she's never played with these center backs before, which I think is very fair. But she did say, Fallon is doing a great job. China had a .03 XG, a .03 expected goals, in other words. So it's not like Fallon Tillis-Joyce had all that much to do, but Hayes has been speaking highly of her learning curve and when she should be stepping in and using her feet and when she should be holding back.
Speaking of things that are tried, true, and tested and steady at the back, Naomi Girma's back for international football. It's looking good. Emma Hayes was asked what it was like to have her back in the game, and she was like, what do you think? And then laughed, because it's obviously a win for the US team to have Girma back. She's trusted. She's the beginning of everything, Hayes said.
Naomi Girma is, as we've said for a while, the future captain of the U.S. Women's National Team. And everything feels better and calmer when she's there. And the reality is, I think everything with this team, in terms of the future and who will play in what role, who's going to play in the center mid, who's going to play blah, blah, blah. Everything is up in the air and could be, other than Naomi Girma. That's just it. You can look around the field and be like, well, maybe this person loses out to this person and maybe this person. Maybe they want to play a new formation. But what will be tried and true is that Naomi Girma is the centerpiece and the future captain of this team. And she's just incredible. And I love hearing Emma Hayes speak about her. This is a fun era for the U.S. because we get a different lineup every single time. And I guess let's just talk quickly about, I think, what Emma Hayes was looking for and going for here in this match. Obviously, there's kind of different buckets. There's the bucket of players that she's seen a lot of and continue to be called back into camp. There's the bucket of players that she hasn't seen a lot of but wants to. And then there's the bucket of players, which I think is the most rotating cast, which is a bunch of youngsters. And she wants to see how they fare in this environment and get them minutes. A lot of what she's spoken about is expanding the pool of players. So you don't just have like 11 players with a bunch of caps and then 30 players with like 2. You got to expand the pool. You got to get everybody experience. And that's what she's doing. So every lineup is different. And I absolutely love it. We could go around the horn, but I love seeing Kat Macario get the start at the number 9 at the center forward position. I loved seeing Michelle Cooper get the start out wide. Emma Hayes spoke really highly of Michelle Cooper as well. Another player very young in her second or third year in the league. just getting some minutes now with the U.S. Women's National Team and clearly is up to the task. The only thing I'm really like not super keen on is going back to the Crystal Dunn at outside back, because Crystal Dunn started this game at left back. I know she's tried Crystal Dunn in the forward role, and it seems like they've crossed that off the list. So again, Crystal Dunn is in the position where if she's going to make the U.S. Women's National Team, it's going to be at that left back role. And perhaps Emma Hayes is thinking, hey, it might be nice to have a veteran. Maybe she spends a lot of minutes on the field. Maybe she doesn't, but maybe it'll be nice to have in my back pocket at some point. I don't know. But other than that, I mean, it's been an absolute joy to watch. I think watching the Girma Sonnet combination start to gel a little bit more has been nice. It was sad to see Tierna Davidson tear her ACL, because that was such a wonderful Stanford connection to have those two in the center back roles who play so beautifully together. And then to have to watch that fade when it was starting to develop is sad. But I think Sonnet slotted in really well.
So going from one extreme to another, especially if you listen to the colour commentary, which is there was a debutante in this game, and one of the oldest, if not the oldest debutante. She's practically ancient.
With how they were speaking about her, you would think she was 60 years old. Lo LaBonta, can you believe dreams do come true if you just wait? She's 32 years old. For the record, they put my tweet up on the post-game show and showed it to Lo LaBonta. And it was me basically tweeting out like, wow, I'm 33 and I feel super freaking old with how they're talking about a 32-year-old. Are you kidding me? Oh, listen, Lo LaBonta getting called into camp is equally as uniting as like everybody's love for Becky Sauerbrunn. You cannot help but love and root for Lo LaBonta. Period. The end. I don't care what team you root for. I don't know. But like, if you know her, you love her. And this was, for me, the brightest light and the brightest spot in all of this international break was to see her getting those minutes, because they are so well deserved. And the fact that this is just her first call up to the national team is absolutely insane to me. This is a player that makes NWSL Best 11 all the time. This is a player that is one of the most integral parts of the midfield of the best team in the league. Why is this her first call up? I don't know. We don't need to explore it or get into it, but it's crazy that it is. And I'm so freaking happy for her. And I hope I guess if you're listening to this on Wednesday, I'll put it in the past. I hope she got more minutes against Jamaica, because she only got a few against China. I hope she got big minutes against Jamaica.
I will say one of my favourite quotes is when they were talking about her and she was like, they were like, you got to go. And I was like, go where? Because I was being the biggest cheerleader on the bench. And they were like, you got to go warm up. And she was like, oh, okay.
How can you not love her? How can you not love her? The game itself, I think, was tougher than the scoreline appeared, I have to say. 3-0 against China. As Emma Hayes said, they're a top 16 in the world. This isn't an easy game. And they played a high line. And if you've watched the U.S. have struggled in the past with a high line. Why? It takes a lot of patience to break down. And Emma Hayes said she was really proud of how they were in their dynamic rotations, pulling defenders out of position, pulling defenders wide. She did speak to this idea that they were trying to find the space in between, but the space was actually behind because of the high line. And you could really see that in the game. But you can tell how this team has tactically leveled up. And you can also tell how this team has emotionally matured already, because there was not a panic. I feel like there used to be a panic when there was a high line or a team's parked the bus. And there was a patience in the attack that we haven't seen in the US in a while. And I loved it.
So overall, a very happy US national team fan right now.
I've been happy since Emma Hayes got hired. I've just been a happy little clam. That's all. I await the lineups before the games with joy. I look at the lineups and I think, this is brilliant. I love what you're doing, Emma. And then I watch them with joy and I think, this is brilliant. I love what you're doing, Emma. And I basically just sit there with a smile on my face and think, it's nice to be a U.S. Women's National Team fan. How annoying was that for you?
And that is it from us here at the Women's Soccer Show. Just a reminder to check out our Patreon. We put extra content up there. We also put content up first before we release it on the main show. So you get to have that little extra taste. Like I always say, it costs you the price of a cup of coffee for a month. And it really does help keeping us going, making the great content that you all know and love.
And for us here at the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Ali.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.